Hello, welcome to the first episode of the WHISKIEE Podcast. I'm ChewDada.
I'm N8FOO.
And this is us trying to figure out what the hell we're talking about. Why don't we start? Why don't we hear a little bit about you, N8FOO?
Well, I am a soon-to-be 45-year-old father of two. My oldest being 3, my youngest being a year and a half less than her. Got a late start at life, but I've been enjoying every minute of it.
Fair enough. So, who am I? I'm ChewDada, 35 years old. One little girl of my own. 3 months as of this week.
Yeah, congratulations.
I'm still terrified of the whole thing. We're both gamers. We are actually brothers-in-law. And yeah, let's see what we could do with this. So, really our goal is 3 things with this podcast. We want to talk, of course, about whiskey. We want to talk about the fact that we're parents. And we kind of just want to decompress and
about
bitch.
Life. Yeah, this is not safe for work, folks.
Yeah, or it might be. Just, make sure you're wearing earbuds. So, just putting that out there. All right.
I like to say fuck a lot.
Amen. Fuck it all.
So, being this was the first of hopefully many streams, we decided to start with a little bit of the not real special stuff. We didn't want to burn a good bottle of 18-year-old on a grease fire disaster of an inaugural.
Yeah, it works. Whatever.
Once a year, the debut podcast. So we broke out the Johnnie Walker Black Label,
The classic.
There's nothing wrong with it. You can get it for the cheap. It's a good house whiskey.
Smooth. But tell me, now that you've watched the documentary, what makes it a whiskey? What makes a bourbon? What makes a scotch?
Well, they're bourbons, scotches, Irish whiskeys. They're all whiskeys. They're all in the whiskey family. It's really the region and the ingredients that go into it. Scotch being from, obviously, Scotland. And its primary ingredients being, peat. So you have your Speyside, your Isleys. Isleys are my personal favorite. They tend to be a little bit on the smokier side. Pair really good with the cigar.
And what cigars are we smoking?
The local shop around the corner from me, which I will not tell you where it is because I will not dox myself. If you want to Google search the aerial on this location, you might be able to find me. But it's a local hand roll. These are Connecticut shade wrappers. There's a baby butt in my window.
And that segues nicely into who our families are. So, as N8FOO pointed out, between us, we have 3 girls, our wives, who are sisters,
and our neighbors' dogs, apparently.
Our neighbors' dogs, who have decided to join in on this podcast. Our mother-in-law, who is also part of this wonderful team. And, they're all going to move in together, and we're going to move into another house.
We forgot the 3 cats and the corgi.
And the 2 fish tanks.
And
there's a 4th cat, Millie.
Oh, right, Millie. I always forget about Millie. It's because she never comes out.
She hides in the cabinets. It's weird. I don't know, it's her thing.
Gotta love rescues. You never know what you're going to get with them. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Well, N8FOO here is also the cat whisperer. Crazy cat man.
Yeah, well, when you spend a lot of your time living on your own, being a vagabond, you don't have dogs. They are a little too high maintenance. So.
So,
This is most of the banner you're going to get from us. It's just two brother-in-laws. Our wives are sisters. Peeled us off the scrap heap. Yeah. Kind of patched us up and turned us into, regular human beings. The reason I'm not wearing fluorescent green right now is because they like to dress us.
And I'm not wearing it, or I could be. I'm colorblind, though, so.
I always forget about that little fact, too.
Mm-hmm. So, stay tuned for our next costumes, where the ladies let us dress ourselves. But, alright, so back to the whiskey.
Back to the whiskey.
The fact is that, even though we're the Whiskey Podcast, we could talk about Scotch, bourbon, and other whiskeys. So that gives us a couple shows of content, right?
At least two.
At least two?
So, I only got 2 bottles on the shelf right now, so...
Oh, that's true.
It's going to be very short-lived unless we sign up for that whiskey club.
Yeah, speaking of, Father's Day is around the corner. Listen up, ladies. Once a month subscription to a whiskey club. Wouldn't hurt. Just putting it out there. Heart.
Right? Is that how they do it?
Mm.
Is that how the cool kids do it? There you go.
So, how did you get into the gaming industry, or streaming, gaming, communities, etc.? What do you play?
Oh, shit. Where do I begin?
You were born
I was born in 1975, long before the debut of the Atari 2600. Well, not really long before, just a couple of years. But, I kind of got my start on the old TRS-80, the old the Atari Basic cartridge. We used to program our own stuff, save it to cassettes, which I will say, don't ever accidentally put one of those in your tape deck. It makes a horrible, horrible sound.
Aww. Thanks for the follow, Mrs. Schwartzy 2020. I feel like I know you.
Yay, this is the follows make us dance.
You can't see the dance if you're listening to the audio version, though. So, to check out more, go to whiskeewithwookie.com. And, at some point we'll actually figure out what the link is to these podcasts.
Right. Right now it's twitch.tv/ChewDada 2020. That's where we're putting it for now until we get its own landing page.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
So yeah, I started gaming as a what is this? Does anyone know what a tape deck is? Really, Amy? My wife.
Yeah. Well, since they're offering us this amazing segue, why don't I give you some stuff to talk about? Did you know that your wife needs to leave you with both girls for at least 2 hours on Sunday?
I did not. What's the occasion?
Apparently she's driving around and dropping stuff off with students.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. See, I found out about this because I overheard her telling my wife.
My wife.
Mm-hmm. This is how we normally get things. My wife also has a tendency of telling me she's told me things, but really she's just said it to her sister twice. Welcome, Amy.
I can see you through the window of the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
And we're just putting it out there. We love our wives. This is literally happening in N8FOO's backyard. The girls are inside. Well, hopefully the youngest of the girls are all sleeping.
Yeah, maybe one of these days you'll see them swinging in the background here.
Yeah. On the swings,
yes,
any other reason.
Yes. I have one goal in life, and that's to keep my daughters off the pole.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is a respectable living. I've known many a person that have legitimately stripped their way through college.
It works. I even know a couple of people that put away a good chunk of money doing it.
So, where were we? Oh, we were back on me being old, right?
Yeah.
So
I had to get off your lawn?
to get off my lawn. So, yeah, I started gaming when, 386s, 486s started to come into play, and you had your old DOS games. My first game, I think, was, my legit game, was Castle Wolfenstein, or just Wolfenstein. I think it was just Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
And then moved on to Doom. and then Quake, and right, all the classics, the ones that birthed everything, and then got into StarCraft, and then moved my way onto consoles. What was your first console?
My first console was an Atari. But from there, I went to... had an NES and a Super NES that I... really, it was my cousin's, and we were just over there enough at the time growing up.
All right. I kind of missed that generation, especially the Super NES, because, again, that 10-year difference when the Super NES came out... I was, 18?
Yeah. You see, though, but by the time I started being able to do anything with games, we were able to start getting computers.
Right.
Like at school, we had our, Apples with Oregon Trail.
Reader Rabbit.
Dino Park Tycoon, which was my favorite.
Oh, wow.
But the game that really made me a gamer was Diablo, the original.
Nice.
And that really made me a gamer. From there, my first MMO was Ultima Online.
Oh,
classic.
No. God. That was my first and my last MMO.
And I went the complete geek in middle and high school. Was an amazing Magic the Gathering card collector, if I say so myself. Unfortunately, when my parents split, my father took it. But just looking up some of the cards today, I would have had my entire college tuition paid for. Thanks, asshole.
That's painful.
Appreciate that.
And if you're watching, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did that, played EverQuest, all those different things. Ouch to you, too. Always the guy that was the enchanter, I played bait. I'm very good at dying. Very good at dying. So I will often offer myself up as tribute.
There's value in being a decoy.
Yeah. My value is making mistakes so other people don't have to. Food for thought. But I've got some gaming friends that I have known since I was 8 years old and I still play with today.
Wow.
So that is, let's just say, over 25 years that I've been gaming with them. And Jarek? Toasty on that one.
That's impressive.
Yep. Some of the others shortly thereafter, all my guys in Austin, and now Spain and Virginia. I don't know. You grew up, had families of your own. Who does that, really?
Yeah, well, some of us took a little longer to get there.
Yeah. Well, you've known your wife since you were, 18?
No, since she was 18.
Since she was 18?
Yeah.
Well, good on you for keeping it legal.
Right?
But I've only
that is a podcast in and of itself.
Right.
The story behind the circle of friends that had the circle of friends that had the circle of friends that led to me meeting her.
Well, let's be real. It was your wedding photographer that introduced my wife and I at the conspiracy day.
Right.
Yeah, we'll do that another episode. But I've been with this crazy group for 5 years?
Yeah.
I was not at your wedding, despite many thoughts otherwise.
Just shortly after.
Yeah, just shortly after.
See, that's going to be the easy way. You're going to remember how long you've been with us by our wedding anniversary, because, what was it, a month, maybe 2 after?
Mm-hmm. I was in between your guys' wedding and my friend's, the Griffin's wedding.
When was their wedding? What month?
I think they were either a month before you or a month after you. And that was the whole point of it, is that we had to be introduced between the two. 5 years in July. Thank you, honey.
Okay, so yeah, it was just after our wedding.
Yeah. And you see, my wife and I actually got married twice. And both times we got married resulted in you having a baby.
Yeah, stop getting married.
Yeah. So note to self, if we want to add a financial encumbrance to Mr. Foo here, all my wife and I have to do is get married again. But that's a story for another time.
So nice, you did it twice.
So nice, we did it twice.
No, but the real reason behind that, and we'll sip one out for that, was he had a family member that was not in great health and was probably not going to make it around for the unofficial ceremony at this point. So,
plus, I needed health insurance.
Plus, you need right. Let's be real, health insurance is a bitch. So yeah, we did a very simple but legal ceremony so that family members that would not be at the wedding could at least celebrate.
Yeah.
So.
And we Skyped them in. So we were doing...
Was that Grandpa or?
Yeah, my grandfather.
Yeah.
So we were doing...
To Grandpa.
To Grandpa. We were doing Skype and Zoom weddings before it was cool. And for those of you who are seeing this at a later date, yes, we're doing this in the quarantine, the pandemic of 2019.
Right.
Into 2020. It's
COVID-19. Are we 6 feet apart? I think we're 6 feet apart.
I mean, it's to scale.
Right.
So, but at this point, the other reason that this is all happening is, let's be real. Our wives have a very unhealthy codependency. And the idea of not quarantining together actually had a detrimental effect on everyone. I'll say even myself. But the two girls that are old enough to realize it were definitely having withdrawals. And the simple fact is that, timing-wise, everyone's a teacher. Everyone was home. The only one that actually still works day-to-day is N8FOO. I'm entertainment industry, so currently on furlough until things figure themselves out. And that's kind of the reason we're doing this. We know we're not alone. We know that there's a shit ton of people out there that are having a hard time. And, they can relate. Maybe we can help out with some of our stories and our life experiences.
Right.
Maybe we can bring people on and help troubleshoot things. But you know what? Shit, we've been there. We're all in this together.
Did you know that May is officially Mental Health Awareness Month?
I did not.
Yeah.
And you're Mr. Mental Health, so why don't you tell us a bit more about that?
I am Mr. Mental Health. I actually am involved in a charity organization. I think I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary with the group. It's called Guardians MH, MH for Mental Health, and it's a charity organization that brings awareness to mental health and brings meaningful resources to the gaming community. And it's something that really meant a lot to me, because gaming has always been kind of an escape. It's been, over the years, either a way to blow off some steam. I'd get home from work and have a rough day, and putting a few bullets in virtual foreheads, it's therapeutic.
He's a camper.
I'm a good sniper. I'm a good sniper. I'm sorry. Not so good anymore, because, controllers are garbage.
Yeah. Kids these days with their hippity-hoppity.
Yeah, these thumbs don't work like they used to anymore. And yeah, like this, and again, I hate to time this so uneloquently with this COVID-19 crisis of 2020. There's a big need for it. There's a big need to have a good place to talk and a safe environment to be able to express what you're feeling. And the group I'm involved with provides that. So it's a point of pride that I'm involved with this group, and I see myself sticking with them for the foreseeable future.
I mean, that's a consistent theme with what both of our projects that we're working on right now. Mental health is very important, and I'd actually say it's key to so much of what goes on. But, traditionally, guys, and especially gamers, don't deal with it.
No.
It's something that they're told, suck it up, deal with it, hide it deep within inside.
Be a man.
Boys
don't cry.
Gamers in and of themselves are finally starting to take a front seat in things, but for the longest time we're the outcasts.
Sure.
And look, everyone these days is, growing up, gaming, or growing up in some sort of capacity, and is now reaching those life stages where, hey, they're starting a family of their own. And no one fucking learned in school how to, deal with their finances, how to deal with their emotions, what it means to be a parent and what's involved with it. Hell, relationships are scary.
Right.
There's a statistic I found that for the quote-unquote millennial and Gen X generation, more than 60% of marriages that happened in the early 20s were, in their early 20s age-wise, ended in divorce. I know plenty...
Well, 100% of all divorces started with a marriage.
It's true. I appreciate the clarification. But seriously, no one teaches you this shit, and there's not a lot of resources. And so, between the blog and between the mental health group, Guardians MH, check them out. The goal is really just providing a place and a community to help people out. And fuck, we don't know the answers. We only know what we've been through. And so the goal is, if we can all help each other, we make it that much easier. Yeah.
Indeed. And it's this the strength of our group is in its membership. Because the more people you bring in, the more diverse experiences you have, because not everyone's story is the same. Be it physical abuse, be it emotional abuse, be it sexual abuse. Everyone has a slightly different story, and yet the abuse is the same, and you're not alone. That's the biggest thing we try to reinforce, is you're not by yourself. You're not the first to experience. You won't be the last, sadly. So yeah, the more people you can bring together into a group like that, the shared experience and the shared trauma. It's very therapeutic to know that you weren't the only one that went through this.
And I'm curious to know. I don't know if Guardians MH has this, or it was just a general stat that's out there. And if you're listening to this, let me know. But I wonder what percentage of people, gamers, human beings, whatever, have some sort of trauma like this that is out there. Because despite what people say, it's a hell of a lot more normal to have gone through some severe trauma than for everything to be, rainbows and snowflakes.
Right. It's a pretty high percentage. I think the last stat we saw, there are 16 million gamers currently.
Worldwide, US?
Worldwide, yeah. And
those are people that identify as gamers.
Sure, yeah. I think the last stat we saw was 13 million of them at some point in time have experienced some sort of mental health crisis. So it's staggering. It's staggering that, and these are numbers that are not reported. It's not conspiracy. It's not,
You said 13?
13. So
that's 13 that have admitted to it.
Right.
And I come from a background where admitting to such things was faux pas.
Sure.
Any kind of illness or problem was something that was hidden because you were in a keeping up with the Joneses mentality.
Right, and I mean, that's a staggering number. Of 16 million, 13 million admit that they have had, like, what?
Yeah.
That other 3 million.
But what I'm referring to, though, is that's 13 million that have come to the realization themselves that they can admit it.
Right.
You know, statistically speaking, whenever you've got a number of people that are willing to admit to something and take that first leap in what's basically a society change, you are talking about an audience that's easily twice that.
Sure.
So let's just say on average that 13% is actually 20% of 16 million. That means 3.2 million people within the gaming industry have dealt with or are currently dealing with some sort of trauma. And let's also expand that a bit. You know, we've talked about mental, emotional, physical, sexual trauma, but fuck, living paycheck to paycheck is a trauma. Living in fear that you're not going to be able to meet your bills is a trauma.
Living with
Going home,
staggering college debt.
Living with staggering college debt is a trauma. Not being able to go home without being judged is a trauma. And let's be real. We are now in the middle of a pandemic that has had people locked down with a stay-at-home order for almost 2 months. That in and of itself is a trauma. And people living today that are of age, that they could be having a family of their own, went through the crash in 2008. We're alive for 9/11 and how that staggered things. And that's just here in the U.S. That's not talking about people that are dealing with, trauma overseas in other countries. The simple fact is we as a humanity are a lot more similar than we are different, and we forget that. But there's a hell of a lot more of us in this digital age that can actually come together and do something about it. And I, for one, have personally been reconciling.
The whiskey is kicking in.
No, I just don't speak good English. I've been reconciling with the fact that, my own upbringing had trauma. And one of my biggest fears was trying to raise a kid of my own. Thank God my wife has some idea what she's doing. It's getting hard to see us.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the sun's going down.
Imagine
so
that.
Next time, we will actually work on better lighting out here. That's good to know. And now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
Either one of you wives, if you want to go into the garage and see if we can find the halogen, we'll give it a whirl. Again, we're winging it.
It probably won't impact this first episode.
Right.
But
the audio is still going to be the audio.
Yeah. And we're leaving all this in because, let's be real, starting a podcast or anything like this is a challenge in and of itself. But
podcasts are fun. And again, let me just derail the conversation here. One of my other duties with the MH org is I am a co-host for their podcast as well. Yeah, no problem. I figured as much. Well, next week you get a nice, good, glowing orange shot of my knees.
And those are some fine knees.
Those are some fine knees. You're going to be doing some editing.
No, leave all this in. Fuck that.
He's just lazy.
Yes, I am.
Having a platform like this to just spread awareness and spread news and spread just conversation has been very fun. Like I said, I've been doing the MH podcast. I've guested on a couple other gaming podcasts. I'll be doing another one upcoming here in a couple of weeks, end of this month. This is really it's a platform that is starting to really gain traction and be really well utilized to just educate and inform.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of why we started doing this, because, you know, the both of us, we have a story to tell. Whether you're interested or not, it's our story. And yours might be like it might not be.
But you know what? We want to hear your stories. Because again, this is just the two of us, and we have hell of backgrounds, and we'll talk about those. But there's only so much we can do ourselves. You know, the whole point of this is starting a dialogue and starting a conversation. So we want other people to participate, if for no other reason than to drink whiskey with us.
Right? Sit by the fire, smoke a cigar, which you can barely see at this point, but
We'll put a Skype window right here in the stream, and people that are not even next door to us can figure it all out.
right?
Hmm.
We have the technology. We will build this.
But our setting is important, you know, and I want to point that out. We're out here having cigars in N8FOO's backyard with the swing set in the background. Why? Because we're parents. We're quote-unquote adults. But all of this is the story of who we are. But the Whiskey Podcast is about helping as much as we can. Not just each other. Because let's be real, we're, you know, polar opposites in a lot of ways and very similar in a lot of others.
Truth. It's a very succinct way of putting that.
So, I want to transition to a topic that's a little personal at this point.
All right.
You know, God, it's getting dark. So, as I said earlier, N8FOO is the only one who's currently going into work as an essential employee at this point. My work, first, you know, tangent, I was lucky that my daughter was born a month early. So, you know, my wife had an emergency C-section. All of that went perfectly well. Could not have asked for better anything. But what's more important to me is that all of it was done before any of this COVID-19 pandemic stuff really started hitting.
Right.
And so I was already off on paternity leave before things started crashing. So I've gotten extra time with my wife and daughter to really grow and really figure things out. But in your situation, you know, you were able to get a certain amount of time off dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, but you had to go right back in. And, you know, there's pros and cons to that. And I wanted to, you know, talk about where you are mentally with that.
It's rough because I work in the aerospace industry, and a lot of people have asked me, like, why is your job considered essential when nobody is flying? And my answer is, your freight still has to move. People are still traveling, even in limited numbers, and my job is to keep airplanes in the air. I do quality control parts testing. We do repairs and overhauls, so when something hits its flight time, that part comes back to us, we refurbish it, we get it back to running to spec, and ship it back out. So while it seems like, in the commercial sense, yeah, flights aren't important, but it's a big, crucial part of the economy right now. So I was very fortunate to have banked a significant amount of vacation hours and sick hours that I could have really rode this pandemic out for easily a month and a half. But we are getting dark now.
Yeah.
Sidebar, I'm going to kick a light on real quick.
Alright. this is the intermission of the story. So, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby as he runs in. So, thankfully you can't actually see me, so I don't have to actually do magic tricks. But, yeah. This podcast is sponsored by no one. No one yet. But if you feel this is an important message and would like to sponsor us, please feel free to reach out.
As your wife said, didn't do shit.
No.
Alright, so next cast we will definitely have a little better lighting. Or we'll do this earlier. One of the two.
Yeah.
We were kind of winging it, playing it by ear. This is now bedtime for the kids, so we had a free minute. So where was I?
Having to go back in, essential.
Yeah, so I had to make a tough gut call and unquarantine myself, and go back in for the. Unfortunately, it feels like the sake of the company. And it really put stress and strain on our entire family dynamic, because when we were all sheltering in place, staying at home, we could freely travel between the two households with relative safety. And my decision to go back to work really kind of blew that to smithereens.
Well, and on top of it, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the reason that you were able to stay out, or you decided to stay out as long as you did, is because of the attitudes of some of your coworkers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, nobody was really taking this seriously, because we all have been given mixed information. And my company was operating under the premise of, oh, this will just be a couple of weeks and we can just keep operating business as usual. And they weren't really taking meaningful precautions. Mm-hmm. So I decided to come out for 2 weeks just to kind of see how things played out. And what was it, the Thursday before I went back to work, we had our first confirmed case of COVID-19 on my work site. And that really vexed me, because it was, am I making the best decision for this collective? You can't see me gesturing because it's dark as fuck.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Right. My decision to go back to work split this family right down the middle, because I became potentially patient zero for my wife, my two daughters, myself, obviously, my brother-in-law, his...
That's me.
Right. His newborn, for lack of a better term, and preemie, significantly preemie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's 3 months old, but she's really, what would she be if she went to term right now?
2 months.
2 months?
She was literally 4 weeks early.
Right, so, and then our elderly mother-in-law,
who lives with us,
right? Who lives with them, and frequently visits her mother. So it became best for it. My decision to go back to work made it became best for this family to no longer see each other, and that was a very hard decision. And it's, it may come up in future episodes, it was very tough because I felt like I was doing the best thing for me and almost ignoring what was best for the collective, because I wanted to save that little bit of vacation, that saved that little, I was exhausting a finite resource in terms of paid time off, hoping that this would be a very temporary thing. And it really fucked with this family. It really fucked with the whole dynamic. And my girls were not happy being cooped in the house, not being able to see their aunt, not being able to see their cousin, not being able to see Grammy.
And that was for a 2-week period that we were doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the flip side, you've been with this company for how long?
15 years as of February this year.
So you've been with this company for 15 years.
Where'd the lighter go?
But did they make any changes?
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as we had that confirmed case, and I'm glad that I took the time off that I did, because it let what was probably inevitable happen. And then they started implementing more stringent rules and more stringent procedures that made me feel a lot more comfortable going back to work. We screen every day. Every person that comes on the site is funneled into one checkpoint, and we're temperature screened for whatever that is worth. But it's better than what they were doing before, because before it was a very laissez-faire attitude of, we'll just wipe down every door handle every hour or so, and we'll have a cleaning crew come in and make sure that things have been wiped down, to a more serious. They took a more serious tone, and thankfully that coworker wasn't extremely adversely affected. But still, the reality is, I'm that main point of contact. And so, because I've done that, we've had to lean extra hard into that, and I'm the one that does the shopping for the house, for our household.
To a degree hours now.
Right. When I come home, I basically enter through the back door of my house on the service porch and decontaminate, strip down, and first thing I do before I walk in the door, before I can even hug and kiss my kids, is, I gotta hop in a shower and scrub. Because the last thing I want to do is possibly transmit something potentially very deadly to them.
But there's another aspect to all this also that people don't really acknowledge or pay attention to, but it's vital. The other option for you would have been to stay home or quit.
Right.
What would that have done to you guys as a family?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know, and I'm very hesitant to speculate what that would have done.
Well, I mean, so if you follow my blog, one of the big things I try to point out is the fact that financial health is as much an input to family values and mental health and all of these other things as can be imagined. And finances is always a taboo in so many households to talk about.
Right.
But to be blunt, if you took the necessary precautions to be healthy, there's a very good chance you may not have been able to meet your financial obligations.
Right.
You wouldn't have been able to pay your bills. despite any of these other programs or things that are out there. And so you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place between the physical and mental well-being and the financial well-being of everyone. That's something I think no one actually wants to talk about, but I think is a good thing. Would you be willing to, talk about that thought process a bit more?
Yeah, let me throw a log on the fire here.
Yeah. That's what's happening for those of you that are watching but can't see shit because it's dark out.
I'm trying to fix the lighting.
So, on the next episode of the Whiskey Podcast, we will have better lighting.
Whiskey in the dark. Yeah.
With diamonds.
Whiskey in the dark. I'm not touching that. That's really fucking hot. There we go.
Now the stream is completely dark.
Right.
Any lights are doing shit. I guess at this point we could take our pants off and get comfortable, right?
You first?
Yeah.
Pitch black.
Also, the reason it's pitch black is I'm pretty sure the camera shut off. But other than that, we're great. No, dude.
It did.
So, the rest of this podcast will be audio only. You get to listen to our smooth, sexy voices in the dark and use your imagination.
There we go.
I'm not sure that helped much, but
Well,
it adds some background color.
There you go. We went from no signal to bad signal.
You turned it off and on again.
Yes. So just refresh me real quick here.
So we were talking about the fact
Distractions
that
are real.
the financial aspect of this led to a huge player in the decision of, the financial health, the physical health, and the mental health of everyone in the family.
Sure.
And I think that from a standpoint, out of mental health, physical health, and financial health may very well be the largest taboo that influences everything else, and vice versa. So how did that impact your decision on what you were doing? Oh, that actually improved quite a little bit.
Right. We got a nice good crackling fire.
Right.
We're burning our logo down. Let's make sure we're not melting our laptops here.
Yeah, there's that. So,
yeah, I mean, the reality at the end of the day is the mortgage has to get paid. The car's got to get paid. And is there a greater good aspect to that? Is it... You almost have to assess, is it worth it at that point? And I've been back to work now for 2 weeks, and I still don't have the answer. I still don't have the answer, honestly, if that was the right decision.
I mean, let's be real. If you lost your job, or your wife lost their job, how long could you survive with what you've got available? Or are you paycheck to paycheck?
If you don't count my assets and my annuities and all that stuff, yeah, I'm paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. I've made smart decisions in the 15 years I've been with the company that I could liquidate and be fine. But that's not most people. God, mother.
Yeah. In my situation, there goes the camera again. But my situation, we're actually in pretty severe debt. And it's from a combination of things that, both my wife and I made decisions, sometimes before we even met each other. But if it wasn't for the pandemic bailout and some of the extra money for unemployment, we would have to seriously consider what that means. Where we live and how we raise our kid.
Right.
Already I'm at the point right now where I don't know if we actually have health insurance at the moment. And health insurance is so vital, especially with a newborn child. But that weighs on me every day with every decision I make. Shows the camera's working.
There we go. Yeah, through the lens.
As I'm saying all of this, by the way, Nate's trying to troubleshoot the camera. Because Nate also does IT work on the side. And there goes my camera again. At this point, I'm saying fuck the camera and let's just continue the conversation.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's not a position that I envy.
What is it saying?
It's just saying connection lost.
Alright, well, fuck the camera at this point. So, but let's talk about what we're doing actively to try and counter this. You've talked about your own outreach, your own family dynamics. But what are you doing personally to deal with some of the stress and some of the issues that are going on with this?
Well, I'm fortunate enough that I do still have medical insurance, and I still see a therapist on a weekly basis. And even that dynamic has changed with, obviously with the crisis, if we're just doing it over video, and it's not the same.
And tangent, N8FOO being who he is, he actually did IT tech support for his therapist, so that they could do video telehealth, I think is what the term is that they're using now. And one thing you'll notice if you follow this podcast and other activities that N8FOO's involved with is once he gets started on something, he will follow it through to the end. I've actually seen him troubleshoot something for 24 hours straight and not finish until it was done. Much to the annoyance of everyone else that's waiting for paint to dry. Or, Windows to update. Because, fuck Windows.
Part of the reason we got such a late start today. Because, everything had to be updated. Yeah, I'm a small cog in a very, very big wheel that is quite a few lives. And not just my family. Again, the people I work with rely and depend on me. And my experience and my knowledge. And it's not like I'm not tooting my own horn to say that things would be starkly different if I were to decide to quit my job tomorrow. Kind of the nature of the way my company has managed things is, I've always been an advocate for cross-training and getting people up to speed, and they just would prefer that I do the job well and not worry about having to bring someone else up. There's that, again, topics for future casts. What are we at time-wise?
We're currently at around 53 minutes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. But I don't want to, start winding down this podcast on a negative note.
Sure.
Because the very fact that we're doing this podcast is showing that we want to take charge of it. We want to do something with it.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, and the fact that the camera is pitch fucking black, we have the fact that we still have a light in the middle of all this, We have other people. We are not alone in the dark.
Nope.
And what we are trying to do is give back in our own way. Because we've been through some shit. And these are podcasts all of their own, which is why we've got plenty of future content. But at the end of the day, normal is the simple fact that all of us have been through shit. We've seen things. But it's been the community, that village, that comes through that helps.
I'm very thankful for mine, and I'm glad my village is in the backyard with me right now.
Amen.
As I refill my scotch.
It needs it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to end this on this note. You're not alone. No one is alone. The first step is reaching out and talking to other people. Find resources that are available. We are both available. Guardians MH is available. My blog, whiskiewithwookie.com, is available. Whiskey spelled the same way as the podcast. Shit is real. Life is hard. You know, getting it all together is not something that they teach you. Because it's emotional. It's not something you can measure. So part of this is understanding that when you've got issues, there's no one simple solution. It's figuring out what's right for you in your own circumstances. So if we can do nothing else but help one person with these conversations, then that's our goal. Because at the end of the day, all we can do is hope for tomorrow, plan for tomorrow, and work for a better tomorrow. Any last words?
Tons of them, but I'm gonna spare them for future episodes.
Right.
Yeah, we can get into finites and really nail down into specifics on a lot of stuff, and hopefully we get the opportunity to do that over the next episodes that we have. But I think this is a good sign off for now. I think everyone here kind of has an insight of where we're coming from and where we intend to go with this. So, where can people reach out and find you if they want to?
Well, on Instagram and Twitter, I am ChewDada2020. And you can also find me at Whiskey, WHISKIEE, with Wookie, WOOKIEE.com. Where I'm blogging. You'll be able to find this podcast. You'll be able to contact me directly.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. And where can people find you?
You can find me mostly lurking in various gaming discords. The easiest way to reach me is via Twitter. My handle there is showing my age, is GG N8FOO N8FOO. My DMs are open if you ever need to reach out, if you ever need to find some sort of solace. I can help guide you to that.
Amen. Both of us. So, the very first episode of the Whiskey Podcast, I'm ChewDada.
I'm Nate.
And we're signing off. Talk to you soon.